Hello, everybody. Welcome to the February 2022 Cosmic Weather. I'm very excited to be here. And let's go ahead and address not just the elephant in the room, but the actual room right now. This is the first video that I'm doing in the new office. Yes, I did it. Yes, I got the house. Yes, all of my wildest dreams are coming true. Yes to all of these questions. And this is where I'll be doing all of my calls from now on. So get used to this lovely wine red couch because this is officially my office. So the first thing that I want to talk about, this just has to do with housekeeping, letting all of you know I have a free 4-day masterclass, which is going to be all about confidence, your family of origin, the sources of confidence. We're going to be talking about body image. There is a lot in this one, and it's totally free. So the link for that will be in the description box, show notes, depending on where you're watching or listening to this. So if you are interested in attending live, and keep in mind the benefits to coming live is that you get to ask me questions in real time. I get to answer things that are specific to you. And the other thing is that the masterclass is only going to be free for a limited time. So it's only going to be up for a short time. And then I take it down, repackage it, blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes for sale if you want to watch the replays. So if you want that, if you want access to it, go ahead, sign up. It's just name and email. You get put on a list and then I send you the link so you can show up live. So that is going to be coming up very soon. All of the details are in the description box below. So enjoy. I can't wait to see you inside and it's going to be epic. Now, I'm not going to bury the lead here. There are 2 groups of you in February. So I got this really, really distinct picture for everyone, which is some of you are going to be in a very strong harvest season. Okay, so like a really, really epic harvest season. And what I mean by that is you have a lot of big things that are beginning to materialize that you've been shaping for a really long time. The other group is going to be people who are in refinement mode. So let me explain. Sometimes we go through periods where there's just a lot of clarity and new desires being born. That's like stage 1. That's the beginning point of everything that is. Then beyond that, you start getting into refinement. So once you've identified, hey, I like that, I want that, blah, 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 then you start to sculpt it out, chisel it, maybe have some experiences that help you get even deeper clarity, find stronger yeses and nos, stronger aspects that you want to include in what you're creating. And this is a season that can frustrate people terribly. So I have these 2 separate messages for you. Let me see who wants to go first. Okay, we're going to start with people who are in refinement mode. So if you feel like you're in a season of just shaping a lot of things, clarifying a lot of things, kind of humming and hawing, this period of time is really crucial because this is when people are the most likely to settle for things. And this is stemming from impatience. This also stems from doubt. So if you're in a period of time where you're questioning whether or not something is actually possible for you, right? A lot of those themes really come through when you're shaping it, when you're actually focusing on what is it that I want here? What are like the nitty-gritty details that are coming through that you're focusing on or that you repeatedly ask for, right? Whatever it is, because that can be something that we get into a habit of doing in this type of growth period is when we're shaping something, we have a manifestation we want. There's a place that you want to go. There's a gap in between you now and where you desire to be. Blah, blah, blah. We all know that. If we get impatient, here's the key thing. a lot of the time we'll just end up repeating ourselves and saying again and again and again, I'm asking again, I'm asking again, I'm asking again. I don't want to say you're doing it wrong. That's not the point. What I am going to suggest is that you're not using your energy and your the power of your thought as efficiently as you could. So when you're sculpting something, what you actually want to do is point yourself in the direction of what new dimensions you want. So if you had to pick between repeat yourself or ask for something even more specific, I would say lean towards specificity as much as you can. The caveat here is if you're angry, frustrated, or want to blow up the entire situation, obviously that's not what we're talking about. When you're in a clear headspace, it's really, really beneficial to go deep, deep, deep into details, because that is part of what the sculpting process really is. And so instead of repeating yourself because you're frustrated and impatient, instead you can actually present yourself with the question of, what else do I want here? What is this moment revealing to me? What is emerging as a result of my current situation? And allow that to be a seed that gets planted that you are going to harvest later. So this is the key distinction between the groups as well. Some of you are tending to the crops, some of you are picking the fruit, if we're just sticking with that analogy. So it's like, I understand, trust me, I am not patient myself. Okay, I don't even like that word. I don't even really agree with it. I try to shape it as much as I can to make it work for me. But when you're looking at tending to the crops, really think about that for a second. How you treat the seeds you have planted is going to result in the fruit you pick later. So don't slack off on being sloppy with your mind and being sloppy with the way that you're making decisions or the way that you're moving through things. Be really, really intentional with this, because you are going to eat it later, literally. It is going to turn into the thing that you end up experiencing. One thing that's now coming through is if you're shifting around in, well, I don't even think that it's coming at all, blah, 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 blah. Again, that's like depriving the seeds that you've planted of water and sunlight and things like that. So the important thing is to not neglect your crops. When you're repeating yourself again and again and again, it's like, the seed gets it. It understands. You already asked. You already planted it, okay? It gets that part. All of the refinement that you're doing is creating the atmosphere or the environment where the seed will thrive. So that's actually what you're doing. You're not waiting. You're not doing nothing. Don't sit on your hands with this. Understand that you're actually creating the atmosphere. And that is going to make the difference between a plant that is just not well nourished and therefore the fruit really doesn't taste all that great, or something that's absolutely epic. So that is the big piece for you, is going to be veer away from repetitive asking. And when you're feeling clear-minded or neutral or in a good headspace, but I just really want to emphasize the clarity piece, then go deeper into specifics. You've already been heard. Okay, the original ask, the original desire, you've been heard. It's God's got it. So that part is already taken care of. And so don't burn yourself out or spin your wheels in the mud or fry your energy and use that for something that's already been heard. Okay, so the last piece that's coming through for this group is make sure, I know this is really Easier said than done. But doubt creeping in is an absolute distraction. Absolute distraction. The only thing that doubt does is it interrupts your energetic flow. It keeps you in separation from the thing. Usually, it completely murders your positive thoughts, positive ideas, positive feelings, all of the goods, all of the constructive energetic pieces that are going into your creations get interrupted with doubt. So, this is going to require some mental discipline in order to not feed into the doubt machine. And I believe if you haven't already listened to my podcast episode on doubt, go listen to that again. Or go listen to that for the first time, because it's really going to keep you on track. Because the way that I personally like to skip to the end of the story if my brain is really convinced that it's going to protect me by filling my mind with doubt, okay, is I'll skip to the end of the story. So, okay, yeah. And then that doesn't happen, and then what? We're upset for a while, we cry about it, we try again, we blah, blah, blah. Like, if you can skip to the end of the story, get past all the nonsense, and then just get to the point where you're in deep clarity about where you would end up, a lot of that time it can cut out all of the discomfort and the repetition and the what if it doesn't happen. What if it doesn't happen is you would feel bad and then you would try again, or you would move on to something else. That's it. That's it. Sometimes there are other situations that can really target a really serious sense of survival and scarcity. So, right, if you're super focused on money right now, and there's a lot of fear coming up around money and doubt about money and all of that stuff, the only difference between general doubt of not reaching a desire and then something that is going to make you feel like you're potentially going to die, it's not necessarily that extreme, but the body doesn't have another way to interpret it, really. So that's why it feels more intense a lot of the time. It's not necessarily because it's because of the feelings that it activates and then what that's interpreted as by the body. Because your brain might not be telling you you're going to die. It's going to be other thoughts that trigger feelings that make you feel like death. Okay, so that is the distinction there. Let's see, that's the only main piece for you, is doubt is a distraction, so you need to shelf it. Shelf it, or skip to the end of the story and go, yeah, we would feel bad and then we would try again. Okay, as much as you can. Then understand that you're creating an atmosphere. You're not sitting on your hands and you're not waiting. You don't need to repeatedly ask for the same thing again and again and again. All you're doing is tending to the crops right now. So that's a really important part of the process, and it's going to affect things later. So do not sit on your hands this month. A lot of people get confused when they're in the interim and they think, well, I'm just waiting for da. No, you're not. No, you're not. I promise you're not. So it's important for you to take an active role. This is a very active experience that you're having, or an active growth period that you're having, but not in terms of action as much as thoughts and emotions. Those are really the basics, the fundamental pieces of what you want to incorporate into the mix. So stay on top of those things, and it's really going to serve you in the coming months. Okay, let's move on to the group that's in harvest season. Okay, so the analogy that came through for you, I'm sure I've used this analogy before. If you have a rocket that is launching itself off of Earth and breaking through the atmosphere, that point where you're breaking through the atmosphere In human terms, a lot of people like to call that leveling up or getting to the next level. It's not technically like that, but that's how people interpret it. Understand that there can be some shakiness and some wobble as you're breaking through the atmosphere. So there is, it might be really smooth in the beginning, and then there can be like the shakiness, the tremors that come through as you're in the most dense part of the atmosphere right before you pop through on the other side. So don't be deceived if you're having some shakiness or some tremors that are happening in that breaking through the atmosphere process. It doesn't mean you're not going to be able to handle what's on the other side. It simply means that you're breaking through the atmosphere. And so it's important for you to support your nervous system as much as possible. Again, I know, you're so tired of hearing that from me. And I really can't emphasize it enough, because it's going to make a big difference when you actually break through the atmosphere. So this is particularly true for those of you who have not been practiced at what is happening on the other side. So some people would describe this as a quantum leap. However, I consider a quantum leap to be almost something that you can't fully prepare yourself for because it's quantum. So the alternative to jumping into a place where you didn't even know it was possible, or it wasn't really on your radar, or it just seems astronomical and it's completely out of your scope. The alternative to that would be something that you've practiced for a really, really long time. So, for example, me being in this house, I've been practicing, I've been focusing on this, I've been massaging out the bugs for a really, really long time. So this does not feel like a quantum leap in the slightest, even though it might appear that way to other people. But when I look at my thoughts, my emotions, my behaviors, my strategy, the entire story, this is a completely fluid experience. If it's fluid and, I guess you could say, expected, I don't categorize that as quantum necessarily. Let me say this slightly. I could go into probably a 4-hour lecture on the statements that I just made to unpack the depth of how to get those two things to dovetail, but we're not doing that right now. I'm just kind of breaking this down into different groups for you to really identify your own personal experience, okay? So let me just throw that out there. There's a lot more nuance to this, but I'm trying to make this as digestible as possible. There are some key things that, for you, it's going to be very easy to overlook, no matter which one of these camps you're really falling into, whether you have like a massive breakthrough, something huge happens, or if this is something that you've just been working on for a really long time and you've been aligning to for a really long time. Either way, these are the things that you need to remember. This is really, really crucial. 1, you have to celebrate. You have to celebrate or anchor it in somehow. That is going to be really, really important for a lot of you. If you don't, it's going to alter your personal evaluation and having a clear vision of what you're creating. So one of the problems that a lot of people encounter is they manifest things and then they don't acknowledge it. And so then when they look back on things, they think, I haven't done anything, or that thing didn't, it wasn't as significant as I thought it would be. And the reason why things don't feel significant is because a lot of the time we're not going slow enough to really feel into the reality and the bigness of what you've created. The only way you can really identify whether or not something is like the extent of something or the gravity of something, the only way that you can really see it clearly is if you're being intentional in acknowledging it. So when I say it's important for you to celebrate, I'm saying it's important for you to acknowledge what you've done, what you've created, what has happened. The acknowledgement is what is going to this is actually going to help you later on. This is about creating a collection of these significant moments that you're having so that you can feel confident. Because if you're just blazing through them and you're not even pausing to acknowledge what you've done and what you've created and what you've brought into your life, you're actually going to feel like you're not doing, or you're not creating, or it's just very easy to become blind because we as a collective have a tendency to make negative memories more dominant than positive memories. So intentionally creating a positive stamp in your life so that you can have an arsenal of big moments for yourself is the trick to gaining more momentum, if you will. So the acknowledgement, and keep in mind, when I say celebration, I'm not saying throw a party. I'm saying do something to create that stamp, that picture of look at what I've created. And I don't care what it is. Maybe it's getting through, some education, some type of graduation or ceremony for yourself. Maybe it's a really epic partnership that you've brought in. Maybe it's a career win. Maybe it's financial success. Maybe it's, paying your taxes in full, whatever. The point is you want to make sure that you are giving yourself the recognition that is going to generate more energy. Okay, because here's the second piece of this. Success is magnetic. Success is magnetic. And if you're having a winning streak, the thing is, you can get more and more wins that ride off of the heels of that previous win. So it's not just about give yourself something positive to look back on, although that's going to be a game changer as well. It's also about how many wins can you allow yourself to receive? Because if you just keep with that momentum, it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and snowball. And so what I would say is capitalize on this win and use it to expect more. Imagine, okay, if this happened, then what else can happen? What else is good? What else am I a match for? What else is going to unfold for me? What else in an affirmative direction? So take the win. And this leads to the other point, which is if you're going through that experience of breaking through the atmosphere and you're in this period of maybe feeling shaky or having those tremors, or maybe some doubt kicks in, or maybe there's almost this anticipation of the other shoe dropping, then that's an indication that you've kind of let go of the wheel and you have forgotten that you're creating. That's all that means. If you feel out of control, if you feel like, oh my God, what if, in the wrong way, because I would want you to go in the direction of what if all of these amazing things happen? Play the what if game when it feels fun. If it feels like a nightmare, then you've let go of the wheel. Or you're experiencing fear of your own creations, which is just another way of imagining yourself as not being in charge. So the medicine for that, in my opinion, is remember that no matter what happens next in this situation, the reality is that you've created this once. And even if you were to say no, let's say, well, I'll use a personal example. Let's say I saw this house. It's practically perfect in every way. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's everything that I found on this list recently that I wrote a long time ago, right? Imagine that I said no, that I rejected it. I said, no, that's not the house. I don't want to move in there. I nitpick it, whatever. Or if I had concluded that I wasn't ready for it. Okay, that would be another possibility or another road that I could take. It doesn't mean anything about missing the boat. A lot of people, when big stuff comes, or you meet someone you're really into, or you discover this awesome company that you want to work for, or you have a really good month in your income or whatever it is that's going on, there's either this contraction around replication, or there's contraction around scarcity. Well, can I do this again? Will there be more? Will there be more houses? The reality is, if I didn't say yes to this house, there would be more houses. Because if I'm already an energetic match for this, then that means I'm still an energetic match for it. And therefore, it has to appear. No matter what form it comes through, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I'm an energetic match for it. I've sculpted it out. I've taken the time. I tended the seeds, blah, blah, blah. I got myself prepared for it. And now, this is what I can expect. If you conclude you're ready, this is a yes, you have the bandwidth to receive it, to hold it, to receive more and more and more. If you conclude that for yourself, you're good to go. Then you can just completely expect there's going to be more wins, more good things, more. You can just ride that for as long as you possibly can, and that's going to be epic for you. For others, if you decide to move in the direction of waiting, holding off, pumping the brakes, understand that the fact that something showed up in the scope or in the range of something big or something that's really, really desired, I would still consider that to be evidence of harvest. So think about it. If something gets to the point where it's materialized, that's fruit showing up on the trees. So even if you don't decide to move forward with it, that's completely okay. I don't think there's any pressure to, again, do something you're not ready for, do something that you don't feel good about. There's no pressure to do anything like that. There's definitely no scarcity. That's not a thing. Well, it is a thing, but it's a human thing. So you understand that you don't have to push yourself beyond your limits, but take the win. Take the win. If you're seeing stuff that you like seeing, if you're meeting people that you like meeting, if you're seeing dream houses, if you're seeing dream jobs, understand that the fact that it's materialized at all in your vicinity is evidence. That's evidence. That is showing to you, hey, you're close, you're within range. Yes, so look at the trees. They're budding. Things are sprouting, like things are happening. So allow yourself to really see what's happening energetically, right? Because when we're talking about energetics, think about it in terms of density. So I would consider thought to be the least dense. Emotions are more dense. By the time it gets to like the material plane, that's the most dense. That's why this being a solid form, it is the most density. So it's also going to be the slowest. So if you have things that are in density, in form, that are appearing, that's a big fat hint. That's a big clue. So if you've been manifesting a relationship, for example, you're like, oh my God, I want to just have the most delicious relationship ever. Okay, if you're surrounded by happy couples, That's a hint. Like, that's a clue. You're within range. You're right there. You're right there. So if you're bitter and resentful, then you can't see that your trees are bearing fruit. That's really what that means. If you're surrounded by healthy relationships, I mean, my God, like that is evidence. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to recap this. Okay, so you have acknowledge and or celebrate, depending on what flavor you like. Then it's understand that your success and your celebration will be magnetic. Okay, so the more that you acknowledge your own success, or the more you acknowledge the things that are showing up in your personal harvest season, you're going to become more of an energetic match for that. And things that match that frequency are going to come to you. They're going to land. They're going to show up. So embrace this momentum that you have going and ride that wave. This would be a really good time to, dare I say, I'm saying this lightly because you don't want to take it to the extreme, but this would be a great time to initiate something else, because if you're already in this energy of things are going so well, you actually want to bake that into the next cake, right? Use that to plant the next crop and see what happens. If you're just using this success and just pouring it into the next thing, don't wait for this energy to die down before you start planting the next seeds. That would be a really, really wise thing to do. Count everything that is materializing around you that is congruent with your desire as evidence. So if you want to take it a step further, if you really, really, really want to get good at this, then, there's even something that happened to me today that now I'm like, I get it. Like it's settling in that something that I saw today and something that I experienced that was a little bit shaky in my system is actually evidence of my alignment. Okay. So if something is happening around you, even if you don't necessarily take the opportunity, or even if it's not something that you're actively letting in your life, or if you're not taking the opportunity necessarily, it doesn't matter, because it's fruit. You're not necessarily going to eat every piece of fruit that you harvest. Like, that's the other thing. Think about, we're just going to roll with this analogy. If you had an entire farm, you would probably share the fruit. Okay, or you would sell it, or you would donate it, or other things would be happening with all of the fruit. Okay, and so that is also something that you can keep in mind, is proximity is the evidence. And if something is happening in your proximity, celebrate the hell out of it, because it's an indication of what you're an energetic match for and what's in your space. So if you can even use that as a metric of success, that's going to generate even more momentum. You can start bleeding that into everything else that you have going on, and just allowing that to compound and go faster. Because the main thing that is going to be crucial for everyone who's in this group of being in a harvest season is you are at a point right now where you can generate a ton of momentum and you can start going really, really fast. Really fast. Don't let the energy die. Allow this to carry you into a whole bunch of other things. Celebrate every moment. Acknowledge everything that's going well in your space. Take time to really mark what you've created. And I would even, here's a little tool you can use, is get a list or maybe a note in your phone. I have too many notes in my phone, so I prefer paper with some of these things, but really create a list of your successes and of your wins, because it is going to help you generate that speed. And the faster you go, the better it gets, the better it gets, because all of these things are magnetic. And so you want to double down on everything that is going well in your life right now. I'm serious. There might be something happening mentally, or people in your space who might be distracting to you, but what is going to benefit you the most is to stay laser focused on all of the things that are going exceptionally well and watch yourself catapult into a whole other dimension. No joke. No joke. So if you're already on a winning streak, I know at least for me, January was absolutely huge, like the biggest month of my life. I feel like capitalize on that energy. So that is the message for you. And that is a wrap for today. Don't forget, I have a free 4-day masterclass that is going to be coming up. Go sign up. The link will be in the description box if you'd like to attend live. And I also want to mention that there is going to be a new module of Money Magic that is coming out in March. So if you want to get into Money Magic, I recommend joining before the actual module in March because there's a lot of material in that. So you can start digesting and implementing all of the work that's in there before the live module comes in March. So I will leave the link in the description box for that as well. And as always, I hope you have enjoyed this cosmic weather. If you feel this would resonate with someone, feel free to share. I always appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, all the things. You can check me out on Instagram if you would like. And I also have a newsletter where you get a reading every single Sunday. So you can check those things out in the description box as well. And I will see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.